Hello, everyone. It's Mrs. McCoy, your counselor, here today to talk to you about the word integrity. Does anybody know what that means? Integrity is being honest or telling the truth, but it's a little more than that, too. It's about being honest and telling the truth, even if no one would know the difference, even if you could get away with the lie or being dishonest. So I have a story that I want to share with you, and it's one of my favorites. I love reading this story. It is called Edwurd Fudwupper, Fibbed Big, and it is explained by Fanny Fudwupper, who is Edward's little sister. So I'm going to share this story with you, and then I'm going to have a follow-up question that I'm going to post in your Seesaw or Google Classroom account. Be on the lookout for that. All right, Edwurd Fudwupper, Fibbed Big. From a long line of liars, there's none higher upper than my fibbing big brother, the Edwurd Fudwupper. There he is now. I know just what he's doing. He's thinking of who could be next for some fooling. Edward's been cooking up fibs full of phooey. He'll serve them up sweet, all gooey with hooey. There's Edward. I love the pictures in this book. Last week he fibbed big and told Mabel Dill, I read you've been voted the Queen of Brazil. They want you to come. Bikinis bring 10. I think Mabel went. No one's seen her since then. Yes, he thought them up long and he thought them up tall, but did he think much of me? No, not much. Not at all. Like the time he fibbed big and told Ben and Dinky that I had been born by a poodle named Stinky. That wasn't so nice, but that fib I'd forgive. If only he liked me, or noticed I live. Early this morning, he did it again. He whacked a baseball and things smashed in the den. Dad rushed on over and found Mom's cracked pig. Then Edwurd Fudwupper fibbed way, way too big. Look at that face. It's all truly, clearly quite simple, you know. The whole thing was done by two pigs from Pluto. They were cruising by Earth looking down from above when they spotted Mom's pig and fell deeply in love. So they dropped one pig here. He just could not resist. That passionate porker insisted a kiss. But he leaned in too far and Mom's pig hit the ground. On Pluto, you see, they kiss sitting down. Oops, make sure you see that picture. Then he left broken-hearted, upset, and unseen, and his ship picked him up with a pig-lifting beam. And that's all. That's the truth, said Ed, the fib slinger. In the whole of fib history, a whopping humdinger. Then a yelp and a howl and a scream from nearby. Lorna May Loon had been listening outside. Mabel Dill, she cried loudly, has been missing for days. She must have been grabbed by those pig-lifting rays. She got to a phone and screamed loud and shrill. Space monster piggies have nabbed Mabel Dill. They're coming for me and they're coming for you. Send the Army and Air Force and dog catcher too. And if you see Edward down here, he's saying, shh, no, shh. And that's just what they did. They came for space pigs with planes and with tanks and with loud whirligigs. Oh, it was dreadful. A real world stopper. All from an Edwurd Fudwupper fat whopper. Oh boy, do you think Edward intended for all this with his lie? Probably not. They pointed their loudspeaker dishes to space and those generals roared till red in the face. Now listen out there, we'll shoot, yes we will. Come back here at once and bring Mabel Dill. Edward watched all of this for quite a long time, but people were staring at something behind. Oh, rats, Edward thought, how much more could there be? A face filled the sky from the hills to the sea. It did not look happy, nor pleasant, nor soft. In fact, that big thing looked somewhat ticked off. It was purple and green with an eye on its snoot. It opened its mouth, roaring, "Who started this hoot?" I live quite close by, just 2 galaxies down, and I just cannot sleep with this fuss and this sound. I know nothing of pigs nor a lost Mabel Dill, so someone's been fibbing with slippery skill. Who is this Nat? Point out where he's at, show him to me, and I'll swat him down flat. And that's what they did. Each dad and each mother, they pointed right up at my shaking big brother. Edward dropped low. He was scared 10 times double. He'd fibbed way too big and was now in huge trouble. Then wait! What's that sound? A voice, small and fine? Everyone stopped. Whose was it? It was mine. "Oh, please," I called out. "It's my fault, don't you see? I broke that blue pig. Edward's fib was for me. So, dear grumpy thing with 3 eyes in your head, see that it's me you should swat down instead." What could I do? Edward faced a big mess. I told a fat fib, yes, I'd learned from the best. I thought I'd be smushed, smashed, squashed right on down. But that big face looked in with a smile, not a frown. "I think," he said firmly, "you both are big fibsters, but out where I live, we're not loved by our sisters. Mine, by the way, I have left all alone, and now I'll go back to her sleeping at home." He looked at me odd, kind of sad, kind of blue. "It sure would be nice to have one like you." Then he turned round his ship, and back home he drove her. And I turned to find Edward looking me over. He said not a thing as we walked back to Dad, where there he looked up and confessed, "I've been bad." So we taped and we glued and we fixed up Mom's pig, and we told Mom the truth, that we'd fibbed fat and big. Our folks hugged us both and collected no fines, but we sat in time out to pay for our crimes. Then Ed looked at me with a smile that was new and said, "It is nice to have one like you." 2 former fibsters, that Edward and me, but brother and sister we finally be. And if somebody knows where Mabel Dill went, please tell her from Edward that no harm was meant. Oh boy, it looks like Mabel Dill went to Brazil. Okay. So as you listen to this story, even though it was funny, and it was meant to be funny, I hope you learned or paid attention to some of the things that were happening, though. First of all, Edward had gotten into a habit of telling a lot of lies. And this one that he told ended up affecting his whole community. Now, just based on Edward's pictures and the faces that he was making, I don't think he meant that to happen. But we don't always have control over what happens if we tell fibs. So I hope that this helps you to think twice before you tell something that's not true, because sometimes when we share things that aren't true, it causes things to get bigger and bigger and bigger when maybe that wasn't what we meant to do. Edward's sister also told a lie. She did it to protect her brother. Do you think that's different? It's a tough question, because a lot of us want to protect people that we care about. But is telling a lie the best way to do it? I want you to be thinking about integrity, this word that I shared with you earlier, and why it might be important to tell the truth, even in tough situations. Edward obviously didn't want to get in trouble for breaking his mom's pig. But is lying the best way to stay out of trouble? Often, when we think we're going to be in trouble, we end up getting in more trouble when we do tell lies to try to cover it up. Keep all of this in mind as you go throughout your days, because remember that if you are dishonest, it's going to make it harder for people to trust you. And that's true of parents, teachers, and friends, especially if you are dishonest quite often. Remember, the truth can help you to rebuild your relationships, even if you have done something wrong. All right. Look for that follow-up question in your Seesaw or Google Classroom account. I look forward to seeing the answers to your questions.